We all want to be happy. It's the one goal that seems to unite humanity, a silent, driving force behind every decision we make, from the career we choose to the relationships we nurture. Yet, for something so universally desired, happiness remains elusive for so many. We chase it in promotions, in possessions, in the perfect vacation, or in the validation of others, only to find that the feeling, if it comes at all, is fleeting. It slips through our fingers like sand, leaving us wondering what we're doing wrong. In our frantic modernity, with its constant notifications, its cult of busyness, and its pressure to curate a perfect life, this search can feel more frantic and more confusing than ever. We are told to follow our passion and live our best life, but the roadmap is missing. What if the reason we struggle to find lasting fulfillment is because we are looking for it in the wrong places? What if our very definition of happiness is flawed? This is not a new problem. Over 2,000 years ago, in the sun-drenched agoras of ancient Greece, one of the greatest minds to ever ponder the human condition, Aristotle, dedicated a profound portion of his work to this very question. He wasn't interested in temporary pleasure or fleeting excitement. He was after something far more substantial, more durable. He called it Eudaimonia. This Greek word is often translated as happiness, but that translation fails to capture its true depth. A more accurate rendering would be human flourishing, fulfillment, or a life well lived. Eudaimonia isn't a feeling that comes and goes with circumstances. It is a state of being. It is the profound satisfaction that arises from living in accordance with your highest potential, from becoming the best version of yourself. This is Aristotle's path, and it is a path that remains as relevant and transformative today as it was in the 4th century BC. It is a journey not of acquisition, but of cultivation. It doesn't ask what you can get from the world, but what you can bring to it through the full expression of your unique capabilities. To understand this path, we must first dismantle a common misconception. Our contemporary world often equates happiness with pleasure. A nice meal, a fun night out, a new gadget, these are hedonic experiences. They are enjoyable, and Aristotle would be the first to acknowledge that they have a place in a good life. But he would draw a crucial distinction. Pleasure is a byproduct, not the goal. Chasing pleasure as an end in itself is like trying to quench a deep thirst by eating salty chips. It provides a momentary sensation but ultimately leaves you more parched than before. This hedonic treadmill is a familiar feature of modernity. We adapt to our new possessions, our raises, our achievements, and soon we need the next, bigger hit of pleasure to feel the same level of satisfaction. It's an exhausting and ultimately fruitless race. Eudaimonia, in contrast, is not subject to this adaptation. The satisfaction of knowing you acted with courage, of having created something meaningful, of having deepened a friendship through vulnerability, this kind of fulfillment does not fade. It accumulates. It becomes the bedrock of your character. So, if happiness isn't about feeling good all the time, what is it? Aristotle's answer is both simple and radically demanding. It is about living well and doing well. It is an active state, achieved through a lifetime of practice. At the heart of his ethics lies the concept of arete, which means excellence or virtue. For Aristotle, every single thing has a purpose, a telos. The telos of a knife is to cut well. The telos of a seed is to become a thriving plant. What, then, is the telos of a human being? What is our unique function? Unlike plants, we grow and nourish ourselves. Unlike animals, we have sensations and impulses. But our uniquely human capacity, Aristotle argued, is our reason logos. Our purpose, therefore, is to live a life guided by rational principle, to act in accordance with reason. A life of eudaimonia is a life in which our rational soul is flourishing. This is where virtue comes in. The virtues are the stable character traits, the ingrained habits of excellence that allow us to use our reason to navigate the complexities of life successfully. They are the skills of living well. This is where Aristotle's philosophy offers a powerful and practical framework for personal growth. He didn't provide a list of rigid commandments. Instead, he introduced the brilliant concept of the golden mean. Virtue, he proposed, is the midpoint between two extremes, one of deficiency and one of excess. It is the sweet spot of human behavior relative to each individual and situation. Think of it as finding the perfect tension in a guitar string. too loose, deficiency, and it produces no sound, too tight, excess, and it snaps, just right, and it creates beautiful music. Let's take the virtue of courage. The deficiency of courage is cowardice, running from every challenge, avoiding all risk. The excess of courage is recklessness, charging into danger without wisdom or fear. True courage, the virtuous mean, is the midpoint, the ability to face a legitimate fear for a noble cause, to assess risk wisely, and to act despite the trembling in your hands. It is not the absence of fear, but the judgment to act rightly in its presence. We can apply this to virtually every area of our lives. Consider our relationship with confidence. The deficiency is shyness or self-deprecation, a failure to put ourselves forward when we have something to offer. The excess is arrogance or boastfulness, an overinflation of our own worth. The virtuous mean is a healthy self-confidence, a quiet, accurate assessment of our abilities, allowing us to contribute without needing to dominate or shrink. In our social interactions, the deficiency might be rudeness or insensitivity. The excess could be obsequiousness, people-pleasing to the point of inauthenticity. The virtuous mean is friendliness, the ability to be kind, engaging, and authentic, respecting both yourself and the other person. Even in our modern pursuit of health and fitness, we see this pattern. The deficiency is neglect of our physical well-being. The excess can be a pathological obsession with diet and exercise, a form of vanity that consumes our life. The virtuous mean is a balanced commitment to health, eating well and staying active as a means to a fuller life, not as an end in itself. The practice of finding the mean is the very essence of practical wisdom, or phronesis. This isn't an abstract intellectual exercise. It is a muscle that must be developed through conscious, daily effort. It requires deep self-awareness. You must become a student of your own impulses. When you feel the urge to spend money on something frivolous, is that a pull toward the vice of extravagance, excess? When you feel a pang of anxiety about your financial future, does it push you toward the vice of stinginess, deficiency? The virtuous mean is generosity, giving freely when it is right to do so, while also being a wise steward of your resources for your own and your family's well-being. This is not about perfection. Aristotle was a realist. He knew we would often miss the mark. The goal is to consistently aim for it, to course correct when we veer too far in one direction, and to learn from our mistakes. This iterative process of action, reflection, and adjustment is the core engine of personal growth on the Aristotelian path. Now, you might be wondering how this connects to another ancient philosophy that has found a strong resonance in our modernity, Stoicism. While both Aristotle and the Stoics were concerned with living a good life and both emphasize virtue, their paths diverge in significant and illuminating ways. Understanding this contrast can help us refine our own approach. For the Stoics, the ultimate good is virtue, full stop. Everything else, health, wealth, reputation, is classified as preferred indifference. They have no inherent moral value. A sage can be perfectly happy even while being tortured because his virtue, which is entirely within his control, remains intact. The Stoic ideal is a state of apatheia, freedom from destructive passions, achieved by rigidly controlling one's judgments about external events. This is a profoundly powerful and resilient philosophy, especially in times of great turmoil and uncertainty. It teaches us to focus exclusively on what is within our control, a lesson of immense value in our chaotic world. Aristotle's view is, in a way, more holistic and grounded in human nature. For him, virtue is the core of eudaimonia, but it is not the whole picture. He argued that certain external goods are necessary, not just preferred, for a flourishing life. It is difficult to practice the virtue of magnificence, large-scale generosity, if you are in abject poverty. It is challenging to flourish as a social and political creature if you are completely alone or utterly reviled by your community. While a virtuous person can endure misfortune with greater grace than a vicious one, Aristotle would argue that a life filled with extreme and sustained misfortune, the loss of all loved ones, profound poverty, severe illness, can indeed impede eudaimonia. His path is not about becoming impervious to the world, but about engaging with it virtuously. It's about building a life that is both good and fortunate, where our virtuous activity is supported rather than completely crushed by our circumstances. The Aristotelian ideal is not the imperturbable sage on the rock, but the fully engaged citizen, friend, parent, and creator, actively participating in a community and experiencing the deep fulfillment that comes from that participation. In our modern context, we might see Stoicism as an essential toolkit for surviving the storms, for building resilience when things fall apart. Aristotle's Ethics, meanwhile, provide the blueprint for building a life so structurally sound and meaningful that it can withstand those storms and continue to flourish. This brings us to a crucial component of the Aristotelian path: friendship. In our individualistic modernity, we often view friendships as optional luxuries, nice to have if we have the time. For Aristotle, friendship, philia, was absolutely fundamental to eudaimonia. He devoted a significant portion of his Nicomachean Ethics to it, identifying 3 types. The first is friendship of utility. You are friends with someone because they are useful to you, like a business associate or a gym buddy. The second is friendship of pleasure. You enjoy someone's company because they are witty, fun, or share your hobbies. These are not bad, but they are fragile. They dissolve when the utility or pleasure disappears. The highest form is the friendship of virtue. This is a relationship between 2 people who are good and alike in virtue, who wish the good for each other for the other's own sake. They admire each other's character and support each other's journey toward being better people. These virtuous friendships are not just a source of comfort, they are a mirror and a catalyst for our own growth. It is incredibly difficult to become a better person in isolation. We need others to reflect our blind spots, to challenge our rationalizations, and to encourage us when we falter. In the company of a true friend, we see a model of virtue in action, which inspires us to reach for that standard ourselves. This kind of friendship is rare and requires immense investment, but it is one of the most powerful vehicles for eudaimonia. It is where our personal growth is nurtured, reflected, and celebrated. In a world of digital connections and superficial interactions, actively cultivating a few deep, virtuous friendships might be one of the most radical and rewarding applications of Aristotle's wisdom. Finally, we come to the culmination of the flourishing life, meaningful work and contemplation. Aristotle believed that we are, by nature, political animals, zoon politikan. We are designed to live in communities and to contribute to the common good. For him, this often meant active participation in the civic life of the city-state. In our complex modernity, this translates to finding work and activities that are not just a means to a paycheck, but an expression of our virtues and a genuine contribution to society. When our work allows us to practice wisdom, justice, courage, and creativity, it becomes a primary arena for eudaimonia. It is where we actualize our potential and connect our individual efforts to a larger whole. This is why finding a sense of purpose in our career or vocation is so critical to our lasting happiness. It's not about the title or the salary, but about the opportunity for virtuous activity that the work provides. At the very peak of human flourishing, Aristotle placed the life of contemplation, theoria. This is the activity of engaging with the highest and most fundamental truths, the pursuit of philosophy, science, and deep understanding for its own sake. He saw this as the most godlike of human activities, the one that most fully actualizes our capacity for reason. For us today, this doesn't mean we must all become professional academics. It means carving out time in our lives for deep, uninterrupted thought. It means reading books that challenge us, engaging in conversations that explore big questions, reflecting on our experiences, and simply staring at the stars in wonder. In a world of endless doing, the Aristotelian path insists on the sacred importance of being, of simply exercising our mind in the pursuit of truth and beauty. This contemplative practice is what gives depth and coherence to all our other activities. It is the thread that weaves our experiences into a meaningful narrative. So, what does it mean to walk Aristotle's path to lasting happiness in the 21st century? It is not a quick fix. It is a lifelong commitment to personal growth. It begins with a shift in mindset, from seeking happiness to building it through character. It involves the daily, disciplined practice of identifying the virtues you wish to cultivate: courage, temperance, generosity, justice, wisdom, and consciously applying the golden mean to your choices, big and small. It requires you to audit your friendships, investing deeply in those relationships that call you to be a better person and gracefully releasing those that are merely transactional or pleasurable. It asks you to find the elements of virtuous activity in your work, or if that is truly impossible, to have the courage to seek work that allows for it. And it demands that you protect time for contemplation, for disconnecting from the noise of modernity to connect with your own thoughts and the deeper truths of existence. This path is demanding. It asks for more than passive consumption of self-help advice. It requires active participation in the sculpting of your own soul. There will be days you miss the mark, days you act out of cowardice or excess. But the goal is not perfection. The goal is progress. The goal is to look back on your life not as a collection of pleasant moments, but as a coherent, meaningful whole, a life in which you became, to the fullest extent possible, the excellent human being you were capable of being. That is the promise of Eudaimonia. It is a happiness that does not depend on what happens to you, but on who you become. And in the quiet confidence of a character forged through virtuous action, in the warmth of true friendship, and in the profound peace of a mind engaged with the world, you will find a fulfillment that no external circumstance can ever give or take away. This is Aristotle's timeless gift to us, the blueprint for a life that truly flourishes.